Welcome back to the Church Resource, where we talk about all the best resources for churches, leaders, and lay people. I'm here with Dr. Chris Respass.
Hey.
Bro, what kind of glasses are those?
I don't know, but I got them on sale. Whatever they are.
That's the best kind.
That's it.
It's the best kind.
They're at the bottom of the rack. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm Lucas Pinckard. It's good to be here with you, man.
You are, brother. Good to see you.
So last episode we talked about AI.
Yeah.
But reverse now.
Uh-oh.
Now that we've upset everybody on the internet talking about AI, now that we've got all of their hot internet opinions.
Yeah.
I want to go to the opposite direction and talk about the importance of writing letters.
Okay.
So this is something that I was challenged to do. You know, we read an excerpt a few months ago from a book called Spiritual Leadership by J. Oswald Sanders.
Yes.
One of the things he talks about after he goes through like all of these traits that a spiritual leader is supposed to have, he talks about the importance of writing letters. And it's something that early in my ministry that I did, it's something that I think a lot of us who have been in ministry for more than a decade, that it's something we, back in 2015, back in 2010, writing a letter, writing a thank you card, sending a happy anniversary note was all part of our weekly routine. Mm-hmm. I've picked this back up. I want to talk about some of the things I've seen from this challenge, which you cannot do with AI. So there you go. For all you people out there wondering where we're getting at this week. But I'm wondering, like, in your experience in ministry, like, what was letter writing ever a part of your ministry? Because it hasn't been for mine in a long time.
Right.
And there's a lot of people I know that when I was telling them, hey, you know what, I started writing letters, they're like, why?
Yeah.
So, is it something that you've ever done?
Maybe not letters per se, more like notes. Thank you card size kind of notes. And then too, given my penchant, for leaning in to technology, it probably was more email type stuff, and even now, texting. But from time to time, first of all, my handwriting is terrible. But from time to time, I would handwrite notes.
Yeah.
Typing letters kind of became a thing. Kind of a real project
with the Selectric 3.
God, Lord. God, don't start. And
that's a typewriter.
White out and
IBM
correcto tape and all. Listen, glad that
welcome.
time is gone,
Cha-ching.
brother. Hey, that's it. Good grief, Lord. I lost my train of thought thinking behind that.
You say your handwriting's not great.
Lord,
you used to write notes.
Yeah,
and then
man.
typing.
Yeah.
Typing letters.
Yeah, because just a project. Between the whole stamp thing, go to the mailbox, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I did write them, and they proved to be impactful. At least to the ones that received them, and it seemed to create a increase the endearment that we had toward each other.
Yeah,
which I wasn't really expecting. I was just trying to encourage somebody or be a blessing, let them know I was thinking about them, man, and it ended up creating a link. So
this is the exact same experience that I have. Years and years and years ago, I know why. We'll just come clean. There was a song by the pop punk band Reliant K.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the lyrics in it is that I'll take calligraphy and then I'll make a fake degree. And so we had a friend who we played indoor soccer with, much older than me. He got fired from his job. He was in his 30s. He was like the oldest guy that I knew. He was like 38. I was like 17. And so this guy might as well have been ancient for me. He got fired from his job, and we found out why, is that he literally forged all of his degrees.
What?
And that someone found out that was supposed to have been like a fraternity brother or was like in a similar class with him, and they realized like, hey, Sean is not actually in any of these classes. He's got nothing. Sean's parents were incredibly wealthy. And they never called him out on it because they liked that he had a job and he wasn't living in their house anymore at 38.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and so that was it. And so then this song comes out, and I was like, this is hysterical. And so, inspired by both of those events, I decided I was going to go to Michael's and get a calligraphy pen and just learn it as a joke.
Yeah.
And so I did, made a couple of fake degrees, which as a high school student, I like carried around and like put in my little intern office that I had up at the church. Everybody knew that it was a joke.
Yeah.
So my commitment to the bit has always been very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you're well aware of. But I kept those calligraphy pens and have always I've enjoyed writing with fountain pens and that kinds of things. So this, for me, letter writing has always been one of those things where I can bust this out.
Yeah.
Right. For the most part. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what it is. Right. So it's this thing that like I found out that I enjoyed doing this.
Yeah.
There's no real reason that I should have this skill developed in my life. And my calligraphy is not like super strong by any stretch of the imagination. I write real fancy lowercase f's, and that's it. Like everything else is just like a mix of print and cursive with however I do it. But the thing that I really enjoy the most about it is that when you use a fountain pen, you have to slow down.
You do.
You can't write fast like you can with even a ballpoint pen or a rollerball pen. You certainly cannot go at the speed that you type.
Sure.
And so there's something about it that not only creates a little bit more effort. So like if you write down something, you're like, I rarely, you write down I really, or you tried to write I rarely and it came out wrong. Now you got to now I got to finish this, this sentence.
Yeah.
It's no longer I rarely write letters. It's like I really enjoy like you got to change everything, right?
Indeed.
So there's something about it that there's a little bit of thoughtfulness that's engaged into it. There's some creativity that goes in there, but the biggest thing for me is a person who is constantly like on the move is like taking the 10 minutes to sit down, and I don't write like full page letters most of the time. It's in a card,
right? And
it slows me down enough to where I'm sincere about what I'm writing. I really have to think about it before I do it. But to your point, when I'm writing down, or when I write something down, I send it to somebody. The amount of people who have come to visit our church in the past few months, as I've like made letter writing intentional, because of a letter that I've written to somebody, has been shocking.
Yeah.
As somebody will come in and, I brought this friend, and it's like, oh, hey, it's nice to meet you. Yeah, I was telling her about the letter that you wrote me, and I was like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
And just that direct connection with people, the fact that you took the time to do it, particularly now when it's such a rare thing. And, for me, it is a little different stylistically than anything else I would normally do. Like they can tell, hey, you know what? He took the time to do this with a fancy pen. It's not a real fancy pen. It's like a $10 pen from the hobby shop.
Yeah.
But it took a little bit more effort. It's personal. It's personalized to them.
Yes.
And there is that kind of direct connection that you get when you get something that is, even if it's not, completely handwritten, even if it's just signed, right? If you were to type a letter up and you were to just put your signature on it, and then even if your handwriting is bad, even if you write a little, hey, P.S., really love you and praying for you, whatever, that's something that I started doing a couple of years ago on our end of year letters. When we tell people like, hey, these are the things that our church has done. Thank you so much for your donations for this year. If you're thinking about giving your end of year gift, whatever, that like as we're going and stuffing the envelopes, that the envelope's printed, the letter is a form letter, but I'll sign all of the letters.
Oh yeah.
And then if I know, as I'm stuffing it in the envelope, I know where it's going. Yeah, I'll throw a little thing on a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, thanks for this, or when you did this year, it was really impactful. Whatever, pray over it, and then send it out. Like that's created an incredible amount of connection with the congregation because they feel, seen, heard, appreciated, all of those types of things that now gets them excited about the way that they're cared for at the church, which now gets them excited about telling other people about the church.
Indeed, man. I do the same thing when people join the church. Mm-hmm. The letters, one thing that we probably talked about before is I sign everything in blue.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's the attorney.
That's it. That's what
That's
it
how
is.
you know it's the original
exactly,
copy, right?
brother. And,
Can't be a copy if it didn't. Yeah.
That's right.
And then they came out with color printers.
And then they did that, and I'm too lazy to change, right? I can't find something else.
You can still tell even if it's laser, if it's the real deal or not. So,
yeah, I signed in blue Sharpie. But to your point, man, there have been times, I put a little smiley face on the letter, or, say a little note in the corner. And because I think that matters.
It does.
I think, we live in a culture, that's, like you said, busy. Everybody's on their phone, and we assume that they're connecting with people, but oftentimes they may not be. And, these little these notes, these little things, signing in blue or using your calligraphy pen.
Not everybody needs to do that, by the way.
No, I think that's hot.
I think everybody can sign in blue. I don't suggest the calligraphy.
Listen, I think that's
it's
hot,
a commitment.
Man. Everywhere, every paragraph starts with that fancy F.
It starts with an F.
For real, we're grateful.
For you, for coming, forever, faithfully.
That's it, man. Listen, but I think it matters, right?
I have to find another letter I can do well.
Like a G.
Like
it's yeah.
People gonna start getting these letters look like the Gutenberg Bible. All the fancy crap in them.
That's it, man. It matters though.
Yeah,
I think
it does.
people will be like, "Yo, that's cool." They sent me this corny note, man. But I know they thought about it. Especially if you have the opportunity to interact with them in advance. Where you can kind of, ping back to a comment or a little funny that y'all share together. That's good.
Or a prayer request, right?
Indeed.
Like something that they've got, going on. And that's one of the areas where I think it's been the most impactful is like if somebody mentions to me like in passing, hey, pray for me because X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Right? Making sure that because I'll like write it down. I'll put it in the notes on my phone or write it in my little notebook. And say, hey, remember to send Cecilia a note this week. And just when I'm praying for her about that, send a letter. Hey, I know you mentioned, on Sunday that you lost a couple family members. Just want you to know I'm praying for you. We're thankful that you're here. And if there's anything we can do for you, whatever. And then, a verse, we don't mourn like those who have no hope, ... And then sign it. And man, that stuff makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
Because it's evidence of the effort that you put into listening, to praying, and then, to letting them know that was something that happened. Those things are all also connected. Also, man, when was the last time you received a letter from somebody?
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
You mean other than, the business that's trying to get me to,
right.
No, man, I can't remember the last time I got a letter.
Or to bring this to the home level, right? When's the last time you wrote that note and left it on your spouse's pillow? Right? Seriously though, right?
Yeah. No, that's for real.
Like those are the kind of things that you did like early on, in the honeymoon phase and stuff. You might like leave a little chocolate or something on there,
that's right.
Construction
just paper.
That's exactly that's right. Anyway, there's a lot of things.
Yeah, he going there. Listen,
I paused. Right? Yeah, but all of those things were things that we did maybe early on in our relationships or in our marriage or whatever,
sure.
And they go by the wayside to where now, Kirsten and I have been married for 5 years.
Come on.
Most of the days that, we don't even send text messages to each other.
Yeah, that's right.
There's no like, I miss you, but whereas when we were dating, that message would be sent a nauseating amount of time. Like if I went back and looked at the times that I messaged her,
just shake your head.
Like, I just can't stop thinking about you today. I'm like, listen, bro, you need to get your head screwed on straight because in about 5 years, she's gonna have you think about a lot of stuff that ain't her in order to make her happy. So, but that's one of those things that it kind of goes by the wayside, and But the impact that had on the foundations of those relationships, those are really important. So whether it is, congregational or whether it's in the home, those are really moving things to have. And, if you think now when we're sending something to, a student, right? Even if it's just a happy birthday card, right? Because there's all kinds of lines of appropriateness
sure.
and all
Indeed.
that we don't want to cross. But you send a happy birthday card to a student or a happy anniversary card to a young married couple or whatever, and you wrote in it, that might be the first letter that they've ever gotten. Right?
Ever.
Yeah. Outside of a Christmas card, which then really doesn't have any handwriting or anything on it. Like if you did that, that could be the first one of those things that they've received ever. Or if not, 10, 15 years since I got something handwritten from somebody that didn't that wasn't intentionally printed or wasn't printed intentionally to look like it was handwritten.
Right.
Because those got me for a little while. Right, that it looked like it was a handwritten note. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll open this up, and it's like, oh, your extended warranty on your car. And I was like, whatever, that's man. That goes straight into the fire.
I mean, that's huge, man. I mean, listen, my oldest is 33, and I bet you she hadn't received 5, handwritten letters.
Yeah,
mailed.
Right.
If she's received one, so that's impactful. Can I ask you a practical question?
Yeah,
it's going to seem obvious.
You can ask it. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Right.
Yeah.
How are you getting the contact information? And I'm assuming this is like on a visitor's deal, or maybe if it's if it's the
members,
as a member, you kind of got that.
Yeah,
but
members, we got it in our. We use Realm.
Okay.
Right, so it's on Realm, which is just our database.
Okay.
That we use for emails, communications, that kind of stuff, which is great. But it's got most of that stuff in there. So
okay.
So that's where I do it. And then there's a few people where I know where they live, but I don't know what their address is.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll go and write it in there.
Box or something.
Or if it's somebody, and it's happened a couple of times when it's been some dudes at the gym. Right, where they did something, help us out with something. I'll write a little thank you note, put it in there with a gift card to the supplement shop or Outback Steakhouse or whatever.
Okay,
and I'll just toss it in their gym bag and they'll find it.
Okay, see, so where I was going is that we've been, whether it's because of the the privacy issues or people being more concerned about information getting out. We've had everything from incomplete addresses to incorrect addresses to no addresses and, cell numbers.
Yeah.
So given that the handwriting note is intimate and is I think special, are you also saying that it's preferred, over a text, or are you saying, hey, use what you have available to you and then try to make the most of it,
Yeah, I think use what you have and try to make the most of it, right?
Okay.
Because any time that you move away from a personal touch, right? And I mean, I say personal touch, a physical touch, right? It creates a degree of separation.
Right.
So, our face-to-face interactions are where I'm going to get the most out of our relationship.
Right.
Right. Then it would be over the phone with like a video chat where I can see your body language and stuff like that. Then it's going to be a voice call.
Right.
Right. Where we can do those types of interactions. Then the next most personal is probably going to be a text message.
Right.
And then an email.
Okay.
Right. If we're looking at using, how relationships are built in and where they work, and letter writing is somewhere in there. In its meaning and all of that. So I would say if you can send a text, particularly if that's what you got, then do it.
Go for it, yeah.
But the tone of the text from the beginning needs to be different.
Absolutely.
Whether it starts off with, thinking about you today, praying for you today, God put you on my heart today, whatever it is that you're actually feeling compelled to. And even if it's one of those that like, hey, you know what? I'm praying for these 5 families in our church. I think we talked about this a while back. Like, these are the 5 families I'm praying for. Then you pick up the one that, hey, you know what? I'm going to send, I'm going to send the Smiths a text message. And then, if it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith and you got both of their info in there, like, put it in a group message. When's the last time you put a group message together and say, hey, listen, praying for you guys and your family today. So thankful for you. And then, lay it out,
right?
Whatever that encouragement is, or that specific prayer need that they may have had, and then do it in a way that makes that text message different and special than what you've done in those other areas. Because there are times where I'll do the text, particularly with our members who and this may surprise some folks, but with our members who are a little older, it's a lot easier for them to read a text message that's something that's got a backlight on it, and that they can put at a font size that's easy for them to read, right? You know, some of them, we've got one guy in particular that reads most of his text messages on an iPad. Well, I can't write a note that's that big,
Correct.
or else the note would be his name inside that envelope.
Hi.
Like, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
thought
it.
of you today.
That's
Like
right.
this. So he can blow it up and put it on there. So for him, it means the same thing, you know. And then, you know, being able to know, to gauge what all of that looks like is an important thing. But yeah, I think a text message can be as impactful, an email can be as impactful. I think emails are a little bit more difficult, right? Because you got to get past the being filtered out.
Absolutely.
Whereas the text message is not there. So, yeah, you know, if you've got that stuff, go those routes, and I'll send those things often to you.
Yeah. And let me just add this, because I this happened to me. You know, I went through it. I've had 2 carpal tunnel surgeries. Right, so for me to write a handwritten note is kind of a big deal, right? Because you know I can type easier than I can write, and so I've had a couple times when I've written these notes, and they come back, right? Address, something crazy, something easy, but it comes back, and I'm sitting there with this, and in my mind, because I'm human, believe it or not, right? Like I'm human.
I don't believe it.
I knew you wouldn't.
Extraterrestrial all the way. I seen your halo in that picture you sent me a couple weeks ago.
that was ChatGPT. Right. Make me look holy. You know? That was the prompt. It gave you some hair.
Yeah, it did.
Right?
It was fantastic. Yeah.
You know, but I'm looking at this returned envelope, and I'm like, man, I'm wasting my time. And that is how the enemy can creep in just like that, right, to deter you from doing something that's actually good, right? It's going to cost us something, you know, to represent Christ and to be kind and to be encouraging to somebody else. So if you know, take our suggestions, right, you know, to write a note and it comes back, don't say, see, you know, I wasted my time. I shouldn't have been doing it anyway. Right now, just take that as when you kind of chalk up to experience, and then get your pen out and write another one. Right?
And especially if that person still goes to your church, have somebody, like, because your secretary, Sister Jean, is probably the one that's going to get that returned envelope first. You know, she gets it and she brings it to you, but she knows who that person is. Right. Having Sister Jean deliver it versus you delivering it still means something.
Indeed.
Right.
Indeed.
And her going up, or Heather, our administrative assistant, you know, if she gets that, then she goes and delivers it. It's like, hey, you know, Pastor wrote you a note. We saw that it came back, but I wanted to make sure that you got it, because it still has that bit of like surprise, that special things, versus you handing it to him and be like, hey, this got returned, you know, whatever, right? Because it doesn't come with all that attitude that we feel about it. You know, connected to it. So yeah, having if you got an administrative assistant, or you got somebody in your church that you trust, with that, like, you know, give it to them, be like, hey, do you mind handing this to him? Because then it still comes with that little bit of like awe and surprise, and not with all of the presuppositions of what's the pastor doing walking up to me right now.
Absolutely.
You know, like how come the principal's coming to visit me?
What
and then you hand him a note and like, oh no. And it's got the yellow like return to sender strip on it, and like, I'm gonna put this in my jacket pocket, you know.
Hey, that's it.
Yeah. So those are all good things. Hey, overall, whatever it is that you're doing, make sure that you're connecting with the people in your congregation.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that we're called to do as pastors is to care for the sheep, as one of the calls that Jesus gave to Peter, and it's one of the ones that is part of the theology of being a pastor, is making sure that we're doing that. So if you can do it through letter writing, text messages, you know, just basic relationship building. Those are all really important things, but the things that we do that can surprise the people in our congregation, let them know that we love and care for them all week long, are going to be the ones that make the biggest impact, and maybe, like we were talking about, in ways that'll surprise you.
That's right.
If you've got a topic or a resource you would like us to review, you can shoot us an email at thechurchresource@gmail.com. That's thechurchresource@gmail.com. And until next time, you guys have a good, give, and we'll see you.
Holla.